Say hello to our friendly exhibitors. We are right here interviewing Nello Migro, the principal of Prestige Property International WA. Hello, Nigel.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for coming by the stand today.
Yeah, no worries.
Appreciate it.
No worries.
It's been a very busy day
Yeah,
here.
yeah, it seems like you're pretty busy. You have given out almost all your flyers.
Correct,
Yeah.
the Sydney market is very interested in Perth at the moment.
So let's start off by talking how long you've been working in a property industry. Yeah.
Been in property about 30 years, but prior to that, my late father was in property as well. So from a little kid, I grew up in and around property as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of property do you specialize in?
Predominantly, originally we were in development, project management and asset management, and in 2013 we took over a real estate consultancy business and we rebranded that Prestige, and I'm the licensee of Prestige International. It allows us to offer opportunities and expertise to clients and investors, both interstate and international.
Cool. So why do you think it's a good time to invest in WA? What's the reason behind it?
It's a big question. I'll be presenting just now in half an hour, 3:30. So you can come down and have a look there and we'll go through some of the things. But I'll touch on a couple of points.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So I think investing in WA right now, if you look at some of the stats and what's going on, basically if we analyse our mining sector, one slide here in my presentation demonstrates there's 30 projects just in Western Australia within the next few years. That's almost the equivalent to adding up all the projects in every other state of Australia combined. So our mining sector basically you could say is on fire at the moment in Western Australia.
Yeah.
If we look at a few of the projects coming through, Browse Upstream, here's a project, $15 billion. The startup year is 2023. Another project here, Pluto, a value of $6.5 billion, 2023, and so on. This project here, $8 to $9 billion, Prelude, has got a lifespan of about 25 years. So there's a lot happening up north in Western Australia. And what that does is stimulates the economy and provides additional funds for investment, provides a need for housing, and it flows on into the property sector.
Yep.
Another key factor, I think, which I'll be talking about, is the negotiation that occurred in GST not too long ago between the state and federal government. So if you have a look at the GST rebates coming back into Western Australia, currently we're sitting here at around about just under $6 billion. Within 5 years, we're anticipating GST rebates coming in at about $8.2 billion back into Western Australia. What that does, it brings surplus cash for investment into infrastructure. And I think you'll see major expansions occurring in Western Australia in roads and various type of infrastructure. One project recently completed in Western Australia was Elizabeth Quays, right in the heart of the city. That has really stimulated this area. So you've got the ability for boats to come in and park here. You've got high-rise apartment developments occurring, offices, once again stimulating the economy, stimulating the need for employment as well. And that's another sector that I will be honing in on in my presentation is employment. If you have a look at our employment growth recently, absolutely phenomenal with what's going on and the need for people. That we're finding that a lot of people are transitioning from the east and overseas to live in WA.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what that does, that then stimulates the property market through supply and demand ratios. So if we go to one slide here, which I'm very big on this, supply and demand ratios. Supply and demand ratios is something that you really need to study before investing in Western Australia. You need to drill down on the type of product that you're interested to buy and analyse the supply and demand ratios available on that product at that point in time. You then need to also study the opportunity for people to create a lot more of the same of what you're buying. And that could lead to altering the supply and demand ratio, and supply and demand ratio has a direct effect on price.
That's correct.
Yep.
So, based on your own experience,
Yes.
in your own opinion, which property can be better? Is that the commercial one or the residential one?
Interesting. There's no direct answer. I think each opportunity is different.
Yep.
But looking back over the 30 years that we've been investing in the different sectors of property, I think our commercial investments have far outweighed our residential investments. I think residential is very good if you have a need for the product at some point in time, and even if that's not immediate, maybe it's in 3 to 5 years or so when you may want to live in that location.
Yep.
So initially you could set the property purchase as an investment and later on convert it to owner-occupier. In terms of commercial, there's a lot of strategic advantages with commercial property.
Yes.
You got often long-term leases and lease covenants. Sometimes you can have a national or international tenant within the property as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Outgoings are often paid for by the tenant under the lease structure, and you are able to often negotiate a fixed rental increase every year into the lease as well, which gives you some sort of growth on your return.
So, Nilo, so anything to wrap up before we end this interview?
I think looking at WA and looking at it in comparison to other states and on a national scale, I think is a very exciting time to invest into Western Australia. And a lot of the people coming through the stand from Sydney here feel that the Sydney market probably has taken a fairly rapid run, but there's still opportunities in Western Australia for that to catch up. The other factor I'll mention in commercial is our yields and our return rates in comparison to the price of the property. We're seeing, for example, one service station transaction that we did, one of our clients, transacted at about 6.2% per annum yield.
That's quite high.
It is quite high, correct. The same service station with the same lease covenant, etc., if it was in Melbourne or Sydney, would possibly transact 10 to 15% higher in price for the same return. So I think investors that are investing in commercial are also seeing WA as a great place to expand their commercial portfolio.
Yeah. That's a great conversation with you, Nilo. So, anything else?
That's it for now.
Yeah.
I've got to go down to 3:30. I've got to present down there. So thank you for coming by the stand.
Which seminar room?
I'm in seminar room 2,
All right.
3:30 p.m.
All right. So if you want to talk to Nilo, just come down to seminar room 2 and have a chat with him. Thank you.